Hello there, viewers. Thank you for joining this live chat session. Can you hear me? Thank you, Habisha, for replying. I have two new stories in this live chat for you. Firstly, a warning from Ethiopian government. Is it a warning or a veiled threat? Secondly, a shocking news story about uh, deaths in Ethiopia. So a little later in this live chat, I'll share these two news stories with you. I am back home after a long travel, so I could not do a video in the day. Uh, just a few minutes over I did the first video. Now this live chat. Hopefully, third video after this live chat. Don't want to miss anything. I want to ensure that every major development is being reported on my views on news. Let me welcome the participants who have joined this live chat session. Uh, Angesom Photo is the first one who commented. Thank you, Angesom Photo. Secondly, Adam Ahmad Ibrahim. Mihari Vander Right, watching my was a news since Tigray war. Mihari is a long time contact. Free Tigray. Tikim Tafira is also now regularly attending live chats. Samuel Falake, again, a regular participant in live chats. Steady fan too. AB Damhara Gojam. Peace and love. One of my regular viewers, Habisha, Hannah Tamrat. Thank you, Hannah, for joining. Hannah is also seen very frequently in live chats. Muhammad Mikashaw, a regular viewer. Mr. Kabbede Vetokar Himrarib from the east. David Jigna, a regular viewer. Thank you for joining, David. Jida Dhabil, Birhano Bakele, Birhano Assefa, Amiha McConnell, Ras Vaughan, Elijah Kano. Elijah was very critical of me, by the way, but I think we have now reached some common ground. So we stay in touch through emails, and he corrects me, and sometimes I think I am also able to update him. Adam Ahmad, the maths tutor. BO are not a Y. B is saying, I appreciate your impartial reporting. Thank you. Ilyas Adhana says, good to see you. Then we have Abel Siom, Janel Komsa, Tagane Adamso, Samson, Yusuf, Dasho Ibru, Abdul Salam Ibrahim, Liban Roble, Abdul Salim Vadi Are, Horn Analyst, Becky John, Mascot, Hussein Shinda, Abel Siom, and several others. I try to pronounce all the names. My friend Mooney has joined too. Mooney is in his senses today. I think that is why he decided to join. We never know in which state of mind he is. General Comsa says one-sided reporting. Mooney is back with his comment saying, it is great to have some female fans of my views and news. It's about time. Yeah, it's about time. I agree. At last. Semper Fidelis says Salam alaikum. Araya Voldekedan. Uh, just a little uh, summary of Fano's attack on Voldia prison. Uh, a few minutes after this attack, by the way, around 600 prisoners freed in less than 60 minutes. That should be enough to say that Fano's capabilities are being underestimated. Prison was heavily guarded. ENDF was there, uh, militia members there, police officials there, but the attackers had very precise and effective intelligence about the premises, about deployment, about the schedule of deployment, schedule of movement. They have all the required material, and the inmates were already on board. The new attack was coming. That is why I say Fano groups have penetrated regional state machinery. They are getting intelligence, and this intelligence is helping them in inflicting heavy blows, stacking heavy blows to military, to prosperity party. It is very difficult to remove Fano's presence from state institutions because people have soft corner for Fano fighters. And regional forces are not in opposition. Police, militia, the prison police, they are not in opposition to counter Fano. I have been saying the day Ethiopian National Defense Force leaves Amhara, you will see entire security structure collapse. Fano would sweep. People don't believe me, but you would see. I don't think that ENDF will ever withdraw from Amhara. It will only withdraw from Amhara if there is some deal, some agreement. Otherwise, it knows pretty well that the day it left Amhara, Fano would sweep across big town cities, and the remaining police militia members would be forced to surrender. So that is what I want to say about Fano's attack in Voldia. Still, there is time that government should realize this is the time to talk. If Fano gets stronger, you'll see Fano's demands getting bigger too. Government should make some tangible effort to talk to Fano fighters. At the same time, Fano fighters will have to do something too in terms of forming a central level committee to talk to the government. Otherwise, we are in here for a long, deadly conflict. Sufyan Jamal, welcome to live chat saying, welcome, Sufyan. Vedi Ofla says, Amhara region will collapse once Abi is removed. A post-Abi scenario could be a very interesting topic to conduct a research on and study. Maybe I'll speak on that too. But removal of the Prime Minister is the stated goal of Fano fighters. Triangle Man says, Sajid, you never met any of your sources and you have never been on the ground. Aren't you influenced by their position since you have no academic background on Ethiopian politics history? Well, You don't need degrees to be familiar with politics or history. I think research matters firstly. Secondly, perhaps I know how to gauge, how to analyze the reports of my sources. I talk to hundreds of people, but you cannot trust each and everyone. You need to have uh, you need to ensure that you get the right information or you share the right information through these videos. Believe me, when I got the news about Fano's attack on President Voldia, I think I was maybe one of the very few who knew that attack had happened. And sometimes I get information before local journalists. Why? Because people trust me. They think that Sajid will share this information without showing bias towards any side. So that is how I get information. I remember that a viewer from Vuldia showed surprise. He said that he was from Vuldia and I received information before him. And I remember one thing that in the 2 year long war, a lawyer contacted me working in Ethiopia. He said, Sajid, whenever you need any document, any court document, any document about court proceedings, contact me. I am at your service. And he helped me a lot. Believe me, I got those documents from Ethiopian courts, which would be difficult to get maybe for local journalists. I never disclosed his identity. People share information. Why? Because they want uh, true information. They want people to know the truth. That is what their intention is. Yes, they have loyalties. They have their uh, they support some groups. It does not mean they want me to lie. They want some news outlets to be credible. So over the years, I have learned how to sort out my sources, I think. Elijah's comment is important. He says, I agree with the analysis, but their logistical constraints are factors to ponder over. These constraints are the main barriers between them and the major cities. Um, I would not completely agree with you. I think what we are considering as the logistical constraints maybe are part of their deliberately adopted tactics. They want to operate in the form of a very swift and mobile guerrilla force. That is the best way to survive, by the way, in the Amhara region. That is how Ola survived. EPLF could not survive because it tried to turn, it turned into an army, a military. So it became vulnerable to large scale losses. So these Fano group strategy suits the type of battlefield in which they are. If they are equipped with tanks, artillery pieces, etc., maybe they will be more vulnerable. They'll not be in a position to mobilize swiftly, rapidly. So I think what they're doing suits their situation, the position in which they are. Do you think there'll be negotiation between Eritreans and Tigrayans? Kidane is asking. I wish there would be talks between Tigray and Eritrea, because I have been proposing, by the way, since Pretoria, I've been proposing that for lasting peace in this region, Tigray and Eritrea will have to sit at the table one day. I don't know when. If lasting peace is to be achieved, it is mandatory. When will it happen? We don't know. Because Tigray has been offering talks, by the way. We have seen statements from Debrecen, Getachew. They invited Eritrea to dialogue. But if you remember, Debrecen in an interview proposed withdrawal of Eritrean military to pre-war position and then talks. Eritrea won't withdraw its forces. It might start talks, but it won't withdraw its forces from Badme, from etc. That is why so far no signs of any talks between Ethiopia and between Tigray and Eritrea. Elijah says some Ethiopian channels are taking stories from your channel, and that says a lot. I get videos, pictures, posts. People tell me, Sajid, your content is being copied. I don't mind. I don't mind. Uh, and sometimes in my YouTube Creator Studio too, I get notification that someone is copying my content. I don't mind. I never complain. I never lodge complaint against those people. Let them do what they're doing. I think people know what is the caliber of the people who are working. So I don't care about their reporting if they're copying from my content. As long as copying is correct. People sometimes translate my content into local languages too. So no problem with that. Daniel says, which Fano wing responsible for Vuldia? I think it was East Amhara Fano. I did a video. Someone is appreciating, someone is commenting about my daughter. Your daughter is beautiful, Sajid. I call her Konjo. Konjo means beautiful in Amharic. Konjo. I'll remember this word, by the way, Konjo. She's gone to sleep now. She is my youngest daughter. I came home today from a journey, so she wanted to stay with me. I recorded the video, but she stayed here in the room with me. So then I showed her in the video. Yeah, which Fano group? Daniel Abate asked. I think it was East Amhara Fano. East Amhara Fano group led by Balatek Gishao. He is a mid-level Fano commander who led this operation. But it was a dual operation because prison inmates knew, they had been told already that attack is coming. They were prepared to. It was attack on security forces from inside and outside. From inside, Fanu Ashanafi led riots. From outside, Balate Gashao led the attack. And regional forces were not in a position to counter this attack. Foreign fighters overwhelm when they storm facilities, when they enter towns. In hundreds, they carry out these attacks. They overwhelm the facility or the venue. Samson Mehar is asking about donkey meat. I heard about it, that it is being sold. I don't know. Maybe the government should investigate. People should be careful too. We hear such rumors in Pakistan too, that donkey meat is being sold. and maybe some people involved in this type of criminal activity. A is asking the question, who is being warned? Yes, warning from Ethiopia. Is it a warning or a threat? Now, can I speak on the two news stories? First one is about deaths from hunger, and second one is about the warning from Ethiopian government. Titi Veldo says, welcome back home. Thank you, Titi. Horn is asking about my children. How many children do you have? I have three daughters. Eliko says, you are exaggerating about Fano. Come on. Now, let me speak a little about the two news stories. Written Post joined too, a little late today. I'll take your questions and I'll respond to your comments too after finishing my talk. So, can I speak? Okay, let me start. Firstly, I think BBC reported yesterday. BBC contacted some zonal level, local level government officials on Tigray Amhara border. Deaths from hunger are being reported, both in Tigray and Amhara region. Deaths from hunger are being reported in Waghimra, which is obviously under Amhara control, Sikota, parts of Waghimra, and parts of Tigray, Ichile, Abergele, on Amhara Oromia border. Drought there and not enough food for people dying. UN, World Food Program, and USAID are going to resume food aid distribution to Ethiopia next month. It was announced by the US government a few days ago. AZ King has joined, one of my members. Welcome, AZ King. Moni Moni's comment, I'll respond to it a little later. So, deaths from hunger are being reported on Tigray Amhara border. Isn't it a shocking news story that while government is spending on buying modern combat drones, flexing its muscles through a big military parade, announcing that Ethiopia is self-reliant when it comes to wheat production, or that it is exporting wheat. The Prime Minister building a huge palace in the capital, and people dying of hunger. Some people misunderstand me. They say, Sajid, you are against Ethiopian sovereignty. You are against Ethiopian military. You want to see a weak Ethiopian military. That is why you criticize military spending. I say that there should be a balance between spending on people and spending on military firstly. No matter how strong a military you have, if there is no unity, if nation is not behind a military won't be able to protect borders. If there are people dying of hunger, do you expect these people to stand behind the military in a time of crisis? Because wars are not fought by just militaries. Wars are fought by nations, and nations need unity to fight. Weapons have a role too, but only through weapons you cannot win wars. You cannot uh, prevent internal, external conflicts. Hunger is still the biggest issue, and it should be issue number one, should be item number one on the agenda of the government. Is it at number one? It isn't. Why should Ethiopian people remain reliant on foreign aid? Why should they look towards the US, look towards UN to get food? This is the responsibility of Ethiopian government. Ethiopian people can survive without a palace in Addis Ababa, without Prosperity Party's modern headquarter in Addis Ababa, without Ethiopian military's modern headquarter in Addis Ababa, newly built. All this newly built. But they cannot survive without food, basic necessity. This is the first news story. I was struck by this news when I read that, so I thought of sharing it with you. Secondly, a warning from Ethiopian government. It's not basically a warning, it is a way of threatening. Ethiopian government is threatening. The Shome Toga is the head of National Rehabilitation Commission. His task is to monitor the reintegration of combatants into society. So, ex-TDF members and armed fighters in other regions, they'll be rehabilitated. They'll rejoin the society. They'll be given jobs or money to start businesses. And the Shomatoga's commission is overseeing this entire process. The Shome Toga says that around 370,000 combatants are going to be rehabilitated in coming years. I think 70,000 next year, then gradually others too. And for that, the Shome Toga's commission needs around 800 million US dollars. Looking towards donors, looking towards the US, EU, UN, that they would support the commission. Ethiopia on its own cannot implement Pretoria deal. Implementation means reintegration of Tigray fighters, reintegration of Ola fighters if Ola struck a deal, reintegration of Fano fighters if Fano fighters struck a deal with the government. So government is not in a position to implement the Pretoria deal. The Shome Toga seems to be threatening Europe. He spoke yesterday. He said that we are trying to start reintegration of combatants, but we don't have enough funds. And these combatants are now on their way to the Mediterranean Sea. They want to cross the sea and reach Europe. Isn't it a threat from Ethiopian government that if you don't, to EU countries, to Europe, that if you don't support us financially, you'll see that these combatants will flood your countries as refugees, and they are armed people. They are skilled, not armed, they are skilled, they are trained. and there could be a security problem in Europe. It's a veiled threat from the Ethiopian government, I believe. How will Europe respond to this threat? Will it uh, commit more funds for the Shomatoga's commission, or will it ask Ethiopian government what is the government doing? It cannot. Uh, can it do anything on its own? I mean, it's the responsibility of Ethiopian government to ensure that its armed combatants are disarmed and they rejoin the society. It's not the responsibility of Western countries or US. So it's a way of scaring Europe, I think. That is how I understood the message by the Shomato. Maybe he's frustrated. He got support, he got some commitments from EU countries, but still required support is not coming, I think. Financial support. By the way, Turkey is accused of using refugees as threats. And Europe, I think, pays millions of US dollars to Turkey to stop refugees, migrants from crossing the sea towards Europe. And whenever Turkey relations deteriorate, we see influx of refugees from Turkey towards Greece, towards the sea to reach Europe. So some EU officials accuse Turkey of blackmailing Europe. Maybe the Shomentoga learned from Turkey. Samuel is asking question, do you think drone attacks are working on Fano positions or no major damage caused? Well, Fano fighters have suffered some losses in drone strikes. Uh, I think I reported the deaths of some Fano lower level commanders in these drone strikes. In Debre Morcos, I think one of their mid-level commander was killed in a drone strike. Colonel narrowly survived. Fantahun Mohabao, his convoy was hit, but he survived. So drone strikes are definitely a problem for Fano fighters, Fano groups. But I think Ethiopian government does not have very precise intelligence about the whereabouts of Fano commanders, Fano fighters. And secondly, sometimes when Fano fighters enter big town cities, they mingle with people. If you conduct drone strikes, people will die. That will lead to further hatred towards the government. So government needs to single out Fano fighters and then conduct drone strikes. It's not easy. This is the main problem. That is why we have not seen any drone strike in the Amhara region killing or wounding a top Fano commander. So all Fano commanders are safe, though we are seeing some precise attacks too, as Mohabao survived. I think operation has been launched. Operation was launched 2 days ago to arrest Massafin too. Maybe government has realized that it should start from the top. It should now somehow eliminate Fano commanders. So we could see more such strikes, drone strikes, but keeping in view the limitations faced by the government regarding collection of intelligence, so we're not sure about the results of these drone strikes. And by the way, people are scared too. They won't give any information about Fano's whereabouts to government. Why? Because Fano fighters will fix them. Fano fighters won't let Ethiopian government's informers to be in the Amhara region. If they know that anyone is sharing information about their whereabouts to the military, they will not tolerate him. They killed their own commander who defected a few weeks ago. They killed him. Eritrean Post is commenting, saying, Sajid, having combat drones alone will not make the army stronger. US Army was 20 years in Afghanistan and drones and jets and did not win. So will it work against Eritrea? Eritrea has drones, tanks. Well, apart from Eritrea, uh, we should analyze the military spending as a general spending to not just directed against Eritrea. Ethiopia needs to create a balance between military spending and spending on people. Drones alone definitely cannot win wars. You need to have other factors too on your side. But I would say no Ethiopia war is coming. For months, I've been telling that for more than a month since PM Abiy's speech. I've been reporting all the developments, sharing with you the tension ongoing, but I have been concluding no war is coming. I still maintain my position. Someone is asking about Damake Mekonnen, news circulating about him. I don't know. Uh, you saw what was reported about Sileverk, that Sileverk had defected, that she had sought asylum in the US. And several journalists, some activists with good following on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, they reported, they made this claim. They said, Sajid, you are silent. Why aren't you sharing this big news? And later we saw Saleh returned to Ethiopia. I think we should be careful when we break big news stories, especially about people who are in top positions. Is Abi homosexual? Someone is asking. I don't know. By the way, it shouldn't be a matter of concern for people who he is, what is his sexual identity. Is he promoting homosexuality? I don't think so. We should talk about his performance as a leader, as the head of the country. Let's not uh, delve deep into his personal life. Moni Moni, you said no Russian Ukraine war would happen. While I disagree with you, then I hope you. Yeah, I remember, Moni. I was wrong. I was wrong. I thought Russia would never want a conflict in its neighborhood. That was my analysis. But Russia maybe saw a bigger threat that through Ukraine, Western powers, especially NATO countries, US, wanted to encircle Russia. So it then decided to go for this war. I was wrong. I agree. So, Moni, what is your prediction about Eritrea Ethiopia war? Guys can do a video on the defense on the demands of Ola and Fano. Okay, I'll do some video on that. Why do you think Ethiopia made geographical prison by some powers intentionally? Hapto is saying Ethiopia has itself to blame for having no access to a port. When Ethiopia Eritrea split, that issue should have been raised back then. Ethiopia survived without a port. It did not uh, raise that issue or as forcefully as it should have done. So instead of blaming outside powers, I think those who were in command in Ethiopia back then, they should be blamed. Elim says, Elim Gizao, talk about the starvation and the government responsibility and what the World Bank should do. Yes, I spoke on that a few minutes ago. Uh, I don't want to talk about World Bank and USAID. How long will Ethiopia remain dependent on foreign aid, especially food aid? Provision of food is the responsibility of Ethiopian government, not the responsibility of USAID or World Food Program. We start accusing them that they suspended food aid. That is why people are dying. We should accuse or we should hold the people, hold the government accountable. AZ King says Kenya went to Europe and got 12 billion while PM Abiy came home with zero. Yes, PM Abiy, Kenya is new center of power in the whole in this part of the world. Kenya is Kenya has gradually replaced Ethiopia. By the way, Ethiopia, Kenya have been competitors for years. Ethiopia, seat of African Union, was in a strong position in the past. Things have changed now. It seems that the US and West see Kenya as a more stable country, more democratic, maybe serving Western interests more than Abiy's government. Do you think Isaias will open up political and economic for Eritreans? Amiche Media Network is asking. No, he will never tolerate any opposition. He will never uh, open up the economy to, especially politics, opposition politics in Eritrea. It is not going to be allowed because Isaias Afwerki was heard talking about opposition a few days ago, and he said that Eritrean nation is united, and they were united in the struggle, and it's a very cohesive, united society. Those who call themselves opposition parties are basically non-Eritreans. They are mercenaries based abroad. So this is his position. No likelihood of any opposition tolerated in Eritrean future. Emmanuel, hi Sajid, do you check emails that come through your website contact form? Yes, I do sometimes, but not regularly. Does Pakistan support Abiy's government? Many is asking. Pakistan, Ethiopia relations are not very strong, or Pakistan has no major interest in this region. Ethiopia has no interest in Pakistan, near Pakistan too. And I think Ethiopian embassy in Pakistan started working last year. So I don't think that Pakistan cares about Ethiopian PM or Ethiopia cares about Pakistan PM, Pakistani government. Both are uh, not in any strategic partnership. What is your daughter's name? Peace and Love is asking. Anaiza. Her name is Anaiza. Kilomamu says, Brigade Hamido, 98% are Tegaros. Do you know that? I know that Brigade Hamido is essentially an Eritrean opposition movement. Tigrayans could be part of it, Tigrayans could be backing it, but it does not mean that this movement is dominated by Tigrayans. I don't agree. Sajid, who is at a loss in continued war between Abi and Fano? So you are asking who is suffering more, perhaps. Obviously, government is suffering more. Fano fighters are not suffering any big losses. No material losses. They have no heavy weapons. They have no drones. They have no jets, no tanks, no artillery pieces. Secondly, uh, in terms of manpower too, they are easily getting recruits, trainings underway. They're not facing any big losses. Government is facing losses. Economic loss is the biggest loss. In different forms, this loss is evident. Deployment of ENDF, mobilization of ENDF is a form of economic burden on the government. Then raising of taxes in Amhara decreased economic burden. Uh, Thank you, Kidane Birane, for contributing. Uh, then we have others, production of crops in Amhara decreasing. Educational activities disrupted too, and several other types of impacts of the conflict. So government is suffering more, though government has more resources too. But in the end, if you analyze the conflict in Amhara neutrally, I think government is suffering more than Fano groups. Fano groups have managed to create this narrative that they are fighting for the protection of Amhara people, that PM Abi's government is anti-Amhara. And PM Abi's government is trying to dispel this impression, so far not successful. Will Ola go on an offensive now, Sajid? The cool kid is asking. Well, I don't see stability in Oromia. That's what I can say. You'll see now escalation, armed escalation in Oromia. Obviously, government will launch operations, not large scale, because military is not in a position to start big operation in Oromia. It is already trapped in Amhara. You could see targeted operations against Ola, maybe some drone strikes too, maybe problem with my internet connection. I'm back. Jonas Marat is asking signal loss. No, I'm back. Thank you, Jonas Marat, for contribution. WTF says, can you please check on what exactly Ethiopian wheat export was worth in dollars? Thank you, Alim. Leah is asking question, important question. Saying, did Russia send her navy to Eritrea? I read an article saying they arrived yesterday. I don't know about arrival of Russian navy there, though talk of a Russian naval base in Eritrea ongoing for more than 2 to 3 years, I think. But what did Isasa Voki say a few days ago when he was in Saudi Arabia? He opposed presence of foreign forces in Red Sea. He opposed foreign military bases on Red Sea shores. So he basically proposed that Red Sea should be controlled by Red Sea countries, though several other countries have bases here, like several military bases in Djibouti, UK, US, France, uh, China, and several other countries. They have their military bases in Djibouti. So Issa Afwerki opposed the presence of foreign forces uh, on Red Sea. Will he now host Russian military, Russian naval base? Let's see. His position is that there shouldn't be any foreign force, foreign military base on Red Sea coast. A is saying Sajid Eritrea versus Ethiopia outcome. You're going too fast, by the way. Let's hope there is no Eritrea versus Ethiopia in the battlefield. The two can fight in development field too. The two can fight in building more dams, in spending on their people. That is where they should fight, I think. Why is Ethiopia attacking Eritrea and not Djibouti? Presence of foreign troops. Well, Ethiopia never used Eritrea. It did not ever directly attack Eritrea. But when it comes to historical claims, so maybe Ethiopia has better case against Eritrea than Djibouti. That is why Ethiopia wants access to Assad. And I think Ethiopia has had experience of Djibouti's ports. Maybe Ethiopia not happy. It wants alternative. It knows that it suffered, and Djibouti earned a lot from Ethiopia. That is why Ethiopia wants some alternatives, I think. Where is Moni Moni? He was going to make a prediction about Eritrea Ethiopia war. Taklit Tivalde Can Tigray use forces if the Western Tigray has not resolved? Speak a bit about it. Well, uh, Alim, I'll respond to your question about Kutu. Tigray does not want to use its forces to regain Volkayat Marasak. Tigray has made it clear to Ethiopian government that the implementation of Pretoria deal the responsibility of federal government. So federal government should ensure that the territories become part of Tigray. Thank you, S, for contributing. So Tigray does not want to use its forces. It does not want to start any armed escalation. And maybe that is why Ethiopian government played its card by making the four-stage solution public. That there should be return of IDPs, then uh, election of administrators, handing over of administration to federal forces, and then holding of referendum in these territories. So, Tigray is not planning to use its forces to regain Volkayat Marasagade, Koramelamata, but it will continue the pressure upon federal government. It wants federal government to honor its commitment. Federal government maybe is prolonging the issue by suggesting a four-state solution, which might take months, if not years, to be actually implemented on the ground, if it is implemented. Thank you, Musi Teklazian. Thank you for contribution. Let's celebrate their first super on a live stream. By the way, I want to share one unverified piece of information with you. I've been working on that for several hours and trying to find reliable sources. I could not confirm that. Jawar, the top Oromo politician, opposition politician, was he in Tanzania, Darussalam, attending the talks between the Ola and Ethiopian government? Because since the collapse of talks, I've been hearing the rumors that Jawar was there too. I contacted some people, tried to get verified information. I'm in the process of verifying this information. If I'm able to verify, I'll share it with you. Several sources, news sources, are claiming, though I am a bit uh, at a loss. I mean, how can Jawar be there? Because who will he represent? Ethiopian government or Ola? He cannot represent Ola. He can't represent the government too, because if you remember, some Oromo activists have been accusing him of being pro PP, of being working secretly in alliance with the Prime Minister of Ethiopia. But still, rumors being spread that Jawar was there, unverified. If anyone has verified information, you can contact me. But I am in the process of verifying it. Jawar and other Oromo politicians, they're nowhere to be seen, by the way. Where are they? They are leaders of big political parties. Bakle Garba has said goodbye to politics. Daud Ipsa under house arrest. Biragudina nowhere to be seen. What is the future of this uh, Oromo political opposition? In Tigray, at least TPLF is there. Opposition parties there too, though they're not being allowed to work freely. In Amhara, opposition is part of the government. Opposition Nama party, National Movement of Amharas, is part of the government. Baldiras also tried to be relevant in the Amhara region. But since Skandar has joined Fano, so Baldiras has lost its appeal in Amhara. There is no genuine opposition in Amhara too, or opposition is part of the government. In Oromia, there is opposition, but it is not organized. It is nowhere to be seen. Either it wants to strike a deal with the government, or it's waiting for the right time to start its political activities. So far, opposition parties are nowhere to be seen. And by the way, Ola, when it talked, Komsa says he's in Germany. Jawar is in Germany, he says. Uh, when talks were held between Ola and the government a few days ago, Ola wanted a deal not just for itself, but it represented almost all opposition. It means that the future of Oromo or Oromia opposition is being led by Ola, not by Jawar, not by Viragudina, Dawadebsa, etc. Komsa Dereba is of more importance than other uh, people, other notables in the Oromia region. Isaac says Jawar was climbing Kilimanjaro and one day he depressed and called Delmaro to come over there and discussed how war is ongoing. Opposition politics is not easy in Ethiopia. In other underdeveloped and developing countries too. But that is what the risk is when you are operating as opposition politician. You should be prepared for imprisonment. You should be prepared for state repression. That is part of this game. Opposition has failed to prove itself as real opposition in Ethiopia. Political opposition, nowhere to be seen. They can mobilize themselves abroad, but even no activities abroad as well. Inner Man is asking, does Ethiopia have legal right to claim ownership of Eritrean port? Well, had Ethiopia any genuine case against Eritrea, it would have gone to some international court. And some people do say that Ethiopia might go to a court against Eritrea. It won't happen. It won't happen. Ethiopian case, maybe, I'm not a legal expert, but Ethiopian case is going to be a new case if it is lodged. So legal position is weak. That is why Ethiopia is not trying legal options. And legally, it would be very difficult to prove the case and to gain access to the sea. It could take decades. And international courts only start proceedings after the parties agree. Thank you, Moni. after parties agree and recognize court jurisdiction. In this case, I think Ethiopia's position is very weak. Ethiopia is mainly relying on pressure tactics. It could not uh, use its regional international clout, or it is just flexing muscles. Strategy is flawed. Isaias Afwerki's strategy is more fruitful than Abiy's strategy. Again, I'm no fan of Isaias Afwerki, but neutrally speaking, Isaias Afwerki proved himself as a more seasoned player. Abiy launched a narrative. Isaias Afwerki isolated Abiy by launching a counter narrative. Abiy's narrative was that Ethiopia must have access to the sea. Isaias' narrative that Red Sea is not just Eritrean concern. All Red Sea countries should talk about the Red Sea's borders, and they should send a shut-up call to Ethiopia. Djibouti issued a statement. Somalia issued a statement. Arabia sent a delegation to Ethiopia. So Abiy did not play his cards well, though uh, Ethiopian government had long discussions reportedly before announcing its position regarding access to the sea. Maybe Abiy has limited options, I think. Internationally, it's difficult. We saw a statement from the US too saying that the two countries should respect each other's sovereignty and territorial integrity. That statement was a message for PM Abiy's government that it should not cross some red lines. Abiy's case is weak. That is why it's difficult for Abiy to get regional support, international support. And I've been saying Abiy needs support from Tigray, diplomatic support. I'm not talking about military support. He needs a better team of advisors and ambassadors when it comes to countering Isaias Afwerki's regional moves. Abra Aga, stop to blame opposition. What is the role of opposition, by the way? If opposition is not ready to sacrifice for Ethiopian people, if it is not ready to go in prisons, then why is it here? Opposition fights for people. Opposition confronts the government. Opposition does not wait for its turn to be in power. They will jiggle us as AU will not accept. AU is relevant. Those who are relevant won't accept as well. Is there any other states in the world poorly run as Ethiopia? I wouldn't say that Ethiopia is the worst country. No. Uh, there are lots of issues in the world, by the way. It does not mean that Ethiopia does not need improvement, but there are countries. Look at Somalia, by the way, your neighbor. What is happening there? Al Shabaab, which is a state within state, a government collecting taxes, funding movements in entire Africa. So, and no military there. Then relations between federal government and states. deteriorating, states working like countries, state presidents getting extensions. In Somalia, too, in Somalian federal level, we saw that election was delayed, effort was made to delay the election. Then the two sides came close to a clash several times in the past 2 to 3 years. Uh, Farmajo tried to get extension. So lots of issues in Somalia too. And Sudan, you see your neighbor, devastated, devastated by war, ethnic cleansing, sexual violence, country splitting. So it's not that just Ethiopia has problems. Maybe others have problems too. And perhaps in some countries, more problems. Stardust, very important comment. Let me read, then we'll end this chat session. Saying, Sajid, you always say there is Oromia between Amhara and Addis Ababa. You fail to realize that the area between Amhara and Addis inhabited by thousands of Amharas. I know that, by the way, who live in the area between Amhara and Addis Ababa. But this narrative is dangerous. Uh, we should not endanger the lives of Amharas living there. Because if we start saying that in case of Fano's entry in Oromia, Amharas will rise, they'll support Fano, and all will jointly move towards Addis Ababa, what will be the effect of this narrative? Those people in Oromia or Amharas, they'll be endangered, they'll be mistrusted. So let's not do that, I think. They are in Oromia. They live in area which is part of Oromia. 1 hour and 15 minutes have passed. This is the longest, perhaps, live chat. Thank you for joining. I think we should end this live chat session. Again, it was good to be with you, good to take your questions. A lot of people commented about my little daughter. Thank you, all of you. Love for you from my vision news, for you, for your families, for your kids, for your parents. Again, I'll be back tomorrow at the same time with some new developments for you. If any of you has important information which I am missing, do share with me on my email sajid672000. We stay connected. That is how we ensure that every important development is covered uh, quickly on my views on news. Thank you for joining. It was great to be with you. See you tomorrow in the next live chat session. I tried to respond to questions as many as I could. I tried to respond to it. Tomorrow, we'll take more questions and share more developments with you. Thank you. See you tomorrow. Bye bye.